Now to the Ukraine and Russia crisis. Ukrainian and Russian officials will meet for talks at a venue on the Belarusian border with Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky's office said on Sunday that both countries have agreed that the Ukrainian delegation would meet with the Russian delegation without preconditions on the Ukrainian-Belarusian border near the Pripyat River. Ukrainian President said the talks, the first since Russia unleashed a full-scale invasion of Ukraine last week, was a result of a phone call between him and the Belarusian president. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says it is fully abreast of all the challenges Nigerians face while crossing into countries bordering Ukraine, especially the Polish border, and is taking adequate measures to assuage these challenges. A statement by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Gabriel Aduda, confirmed that the Minister of Foreign Affairs has spoken with his counterpart, the Foreign Minister of Ukraine, on these unsavory developments, and both are working on alleviating the sufferings of Nigerians, including deploying the International Organization for Migration to the border to ensure easy access to all Nigerians and other nationals. For now, movement to safer borders is advised, as they have approved visa-free access to all Nigerians coming from Ukraine and arrangements for accommodation and feeding before evacuation is arranged. Parents, guardians and wards of Nigerians in Ukraine are enjoined to remain calm as the federal government of Nigeria is working very hard to get them all home safely. Meanwhile, the federal government says there are arrangements on ground to receive free Nigerians from Ukraine at all entry points in Romania. Students and family members are advised to call these numbers of officials on the screen. Similar statement from Nigerian Embassy to Budapest indicates that Nigerians entering Hungary from Ukraine can contact officials on these numbers as arrangements to safely transport them have been concluded. And joining us via Zoom from Ukraine is Dr. Sunday Adelaja, a Nigerian clergy and resident in Kyiv. It is a pleasure to have you join us on the news, Mr. Adelaja.
Thank you so very much. Yes, it's my pleasure to be able to talk to NTA today.
Thank you so much. We are aware that many Nigerians are taking advantage of the evacuation window provided by the federal government seriously, but not without challenges. As one of them on ground, where are you presently and are you safe?
Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot yet disclose my location because I am still on transit. I am still making efforts to, to settle. So I am still on the move, and it's not advisable to say that, to reveal where I am now.
Okay. All right. So what is the situation with Nigerians in Ukraine?
It's very precarious because, the fightings are still going on and the bombs are dropping and the shootings are going on. And then there is a curfew to add to that. And transportations are not working. So you cannot really easily get from one section of the city to the other. So if you don't have a car, as with the case with most students, there's just even no way. Even if you have a car, you are taking a big risk. Anything could happen. I mean, a bomb or a shell could hit you. So the biggest advice that we are giving to all our compatriots, and the government is saying the same thing, the government of Ukraine and even government of other countries, is that the students should keep themselves hidden in the bunkers and in the underground where government has provided for everybody to be staying right now.
All right. Any challenges with Ukrainian forces on their way?
I don't get your question, please.
Are there any challenges with Ukrainian forces on their way for people to be safe, for nationals to be saved and safe rather?
Yeah, there are challenges for them to be able to move, for students or even Ukrainian citizens to move from one place to the other. It's almost impossible because even if the Ukrainians are giving you security, there is no way you could be sure that the Russians will not be firing. Or sometimes Ukrainians might be firing in response and they don't even see you. and nobody is actually allowed to move around because of the curfew. So they are safe where they are hidden, where government has provided. Almost every house has got some form of bunker or underground, and the people are safe there. But to try to get to the border, to Romania, or to get to the border to Poland, that is where the problem is. Unless there is a ceasefire, then the people will be able to move to take transportation to those places. The only Nigerians who are able to get out of Ukraine right now are the ones who are not living far from those borders. Then you could cross over. But for the majority of the people who are living in the center of the country, like where the capital is, or away from the borders, it's not as easy as we hear people say they are going to evacuate. It's almost impossible if you are within the country. But if you have already moved to Poland, then it will be a possibility for you to be evacuated. The evacuation now is only possible either from Poland or from Romania, but not from Ukraine. Even Americans, with all their might, cannot evacuate their citizens now if any of them are still left behind.
Of course. All right, I'm sure you're aware that the Nigerian government has been doing so much to evacuate Nigerians from Ukraine, but there seems to be a problem flying over the two countries. Now, are Nigerians taking advantage of the arrangements on ground? We have numbers expected to call, officials are expected to call so that it can be taken to where they will be saved.
Yeah, well, I know those numbers. I saw those appeals, and some of those people on those numbers are my disciples and my mentees. But those numbers are located in Poland. Those people are in Poland. That is where Nigerian government has access to. The Nigerian embassy there can help. But the ones in the midst of the war zone, in Kyiv or in Ukraine themselves, there is no way they can take advantage of this unless they want to risk their lives. And we don't want that to happen. Because I personally have people in my house right now, both Nigerians and Ukrainians, but they cannot leave because it is too dangerous.
All right, Mr. Sunday Adelaja, we want to thank you so much for interacting with us, and we hope that you'll be safe, and other Nigerians as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Report reaching us says while efforts to begin talks between Russia and Ukraine are underway, paramount on our minds is the safety and human rights of some 4,000 Nigerian citizens and many others from friendly African nations today stranded in Ukraine. There's a long history dating back 4 decades of Nigerians and other Africans studying in Ukraine, particularly medicine. The majority of Nigerian citizens in the country today are university-enrolled students. From video evidence, first-hand reports, and from those in contact with their wards and Nigerian consular officers, where there have been unfortunate reports of Ukrainian police and security personnel refusing to allow Nigerians to board buses and train heading towards the Ukraine-Poland border. In one video widely circulated on social media, a Nigerian mother with her young baby was filmed being physically forced to give up her seat to another person. There are also separate reports of Polish officials simply refusing Nigerian citizens entry into Poland from Ukraine. One group of Nigerian students, having repeatedly been refused entry into Poland, have concluded they have no choice but to travel again across Ukraine and attempt to exit the country via the border with Hungary. We understand that pain and fear that is confronting all people who find themselves in this terrifying place. We also appreciate that those in official positions in security and border management will in most cases be experiencing impossible expectations in a situation they have never expected. But for that reason, it is paramount that everyone is treated with dignity and without favor. All who flee a conflict situation have the same right to face passage under UN Convention, and the color of their passport or their skin should make no difference. As a nation, we are proud of those educated in Kyiv and other cities and centers of learning who have returned to Nigeria to perform great services for our nation and our people. Without the generosity of spirit of the Ukrainian people, that would never have been possible. We pray for those directly affected in this conflict. Nigeria, with our 200 million people, support all and every diplomatic efforts to bring this war to an end.